how do you get people to trust you and to diminish that misinformation? Scientists have to be good at it, and you are good at it.
From a scientific standpoint, we did very well. What we didn't do as well was in the public health response. The communication sometimes early on, I must say, was sometimes a little bit garbled. There will be other outbreaks. I mean, history has told us that many times.
The origins of the public health service in this country go back more than 200 years. But let's say the patient is the American public health care system right now. So do a diagnosis of public health in this country right now. Symptoms, prognosis, how are we looking?
So a few years ago, the public health of the United States and of the world in general took a very serious blow that devastated us over the previous few years. As you know, we're now, Pat, in our fifth year of COVID. The number of cases are dramatically lower than they were. So my hope as a public health person, as a physician, as a scientist, is that we've learned lessons from this. And as we go forward, there will be other outbreaks. I mean, history has told us that many times there will be other outbreaks, and hopefully we'll be better prepared for them. We need to learn the lesson of some of the things that were not done as well as they could have been done. I tend to break the preparedness and response to an outbreak into a scientific bucket and a public health bucket. If you look at the scientific bucket, we in the United States could not have possibly done better. I mean, we had a vaccine tested in tens of thousands of people and shown to be safe and highly effective in preventing severe disease in 11 months from the time the sequence was known. That would have been unimaginable years ago. Generally, vaccines take 7 to 10 years to get developed and proven to be safe and effective. And that capability, which was shown here with Operation Warp Speed and with the science that was done, mostly supported by the National Institutes of Health, probably saved millions of lives. In fact, there were some modeling studies to show that vaccines in a period of a year and a half or two in the United States saved more than 3 million lives, and throughout the world, as many as 14 million lives. So from a scientific standpoint, we did very well. What we didn't do as well was in the public health response. It was a rather fractionated response where you had individual states doing things in a way that was not necessarily optimal to be able to contain the outbreak. And that's what we really need to do for next time, to make sure that we understand the sound public health principles and uniformly implement them.
What is the responsibility of physicians? Some of our viewers, like Joel, saying, how do you get people to trust you and to diminish that misinformation? Scientists have to be good at it, and you are good at it.
First of all, you have to, when you're talking about issues of public health and you're a scientist, you've got to know your audience. So my general rule of communication is, first, know your audience, know who you're speaking to. Number one. Number two, try to be as precise and clear as you possibly can without giving multiple versions of things. And I think we all need to do better with that. I mean, there's always room for improvement. The communication sometimes early on, I must say, was sometimes a little bit garbled. And that's the lesson we've got to learn, that we've got to be much more crisp and clear in our communications.
And not be afraid to communicate.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, communication, Pat, is such an important thing when you're dealing with a catastrophic situation like an evolving pandemic. In fact, the general public is dependent on clear and honest communication that's based on evidence and facts and data.
And Dina's question is, do you think it really takes like a resurgence of polio or measles or some other terrible disease for anti-vaxxers to change their minds, for people to feel, okay, enough of the noise, let's do the right thing?
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that, because I'd hate to see particularly children suffer, get ill, get seriously ill, and sometimes even die from these diseases, in order for people to realize that, wow, we really got to get people properly vaccinated, because right now we don't have any fear of measles or polio or pertussis, because vaccines have essentially eliminated those diseases in this country. It would really be unfortunate that we have to wait for those diseases to come back before people fully realize the importance of vaccines. I mean, I would like them to realize it before we have the issue of the diseases coming back.
So why don't you give us then some hopeful things to look forward to anticipate as we enter a new phase of the public health system in this country?
My hope is that the scientific opportunities that we have now, and that if we continue to support basic and clinical research, those opportunities will do anything and they will expand greatly. So my hope is that as we look forward, the investment in basic and clinical research will lead to cures of diseases that at this point are still incurable. I have a great deal of faith in the power of science and the applicability of science to bettering the health of people, not only in this country, but throughout the world. So to me, that's a very positive looking towards the future, because I think we can do that.